Hello everyone. This is Mr. Vanderpool, and today we're going to be starting on our economics material by looking at an economic way of thinking. We're going to take a look at what economics is. We're going to compare different types of studies of economics, and we're going to go ahead and be talking about one of our first economics concepts, which is called the factors of production. All right, so let's start off by talking about what is economics. So economics is a study of how people make choices to satisfy their wants. So we all have practically unlimited wants, but there are limited resources to go around. So economics looks at how are we going to make choices to satisfy our wants with the limited resources that we have. Another way to put it is economics is the study of how mankind distributes their scarce resources. Resources are scarce. How are they going to be distributed among people? That is the study of economics. So let's take a look at some examples of economic choices. So for example, you must choose how to spend your time. Lots of times when people think about economics, they think about money. Well, money is limited and it has to be distributed. But time is also limited and we have to distribute time. So deciding how we're going to spend our time to satisfy our wants would be an economic question. Businesses must choose how many people to hire. Okay, there's a scarce amount of labor out there, and businesses must choose how many people they want to hire to fill their needs. So almost as important, if not more important, than the actual definition of economics is economics really is a way of thinking. Economists look at things like incentives and supply and demand and scarcity, and economists really view the world through these various lenses. And so we're going to be talking about that more as we go throughout the course. Now, I want to start off by taking a look at something we all do, which is make purchases. Here, it looks like you have somebody maybe at Best Buy buying a Beatles rock band. So I want you to think to yourself how this might demonstrate the concept of economics, of scarcity, of how people need to make choices with limited amounts of goods to satisfy their wants. So the answer to that would be this. You have this gentleman here that's buying Beatles rock band. He has a limited amount of a certain resource, and that resource in this case is going to be money. And he is deciding how he is going to be spending that money. And in this case, he's decided that he's going to spend it on buying what looks like Beatles rock band. So whenever we buy things, we are making economic decisions. We are making choices using limited resources to satisfy our wants. Now, there's a couple types of studies of economics. The first one is microeconomics. So this is the study of choices made by economic actors such as households, companies, and individual markets. So if you're looking at the economic decisions individuals are making, for example, the Exxon Corporation or maybe the economic decisions Mr. Vanderpool is making, you are looking at what is called microeconomics. Macroeconomics is a little different. It examines the behavior of an entire economy. So if you're looking at how an entire country's economy is doing, you're looking at macroeconomics. So for example, if you're looking at the amount of unemployment in the United States, that would be macroeconomics. If you're looking at the economic decisions that an individual company like the Exxon Corporation is making, that would be microeconomics. Now, there's some other terms that are thrown around that you guys probably are more familiar with, like, for example, consumers versus producers. So consumers are people that buy things. Producers are people who make things, who produce things, would be one example. And you also have goods versus services. So goods are physical objects, they can be purchased. Services are actions or activities that are performed for a fee. So, for example here, if you have an accountant doing accounting services, that would be an example of a service. An Xbox 360 would be an example of a good. So we're going to throw around those terms goods and services quite often. It's important to know the difference. Now, I want to look at what are the factors of production. Okay, so the factors of production, according to economists, are the resources that can be used to produce goods and services. And there's a great acronym that can be used, and I like acronyms in this class, to remember the factors of production. There are 4 of them, and the acronym is CELL, C-E-L-L. That stands for capital, entrepreneurship, land, and labor. Now the book gives these different names, and we're going to go ahead and look at all 4. Okay, so these factors of production are the things that people use to produce goods and services. So the first one we're going to look at are natural resources. This is also known as land. These are items that are produced by nature that can be used to produce goods and services. You also have human resources. So this is labor. This is the human effort exerted to produce something, whether it be physical or intellectual. All right, so the first 2 of the 4 factors of production are natural resources, also known as land, or human resources, which is also known as labor. Capital resources are manufacturing materials used to create products. Examples of capital goods would be buildings, structures, machinery, tools that are used in the production process. So we're talking about capital. We really are talking about this technology, these factories, these tools, these machines that are used by businesses to produce things. Another part of capital resources would be consumer goods, and these are goods and services that people buy. But most often, when economists are talking about capital, they're talking about capital goods like machines, tools, etc. The last factor of production is entrepreneurship. So most of you guys have probably some idea of different entrepreneurs out there, people that have started their own business. And so this entrepreneurship is the organizational abilities and risk-taking that are involved in starting a new business or introducing a new product. So the goal of entrepreneurs is to develop a combination of the other 3 factors of production: capital, entrepreneurship, and land to create something of value. So the most important thing to remember here is that land, labor, and capital are used by the entrepreneur to produce goods and services. All right, let's go ahead and do the assessment. So remember, for this assessment, we're going to do it at the right below where you finished your notes. And you're going to go ahead and just write the number, the letter, the answer. That's all you have to do for number 1 and for number 2. So for number 1, the study of economic choices made by individual markets is called what? And 2, what is the name of somebody who uses the factors of production in order to create something of value? So once again, all you need is the number, letter, answer. Now you can go ahead and pause here if you so desire, and we'll move on to the summary, which is, I want you to describe for me the 4 factors of production. We've talked about all 4. Describe those 4 for me. So remember that the summary can be done right below that assessment, and I am looking for a minimum of 1 sentence per factor of production. So there's 4 factors of production, a minimum 1 sentence per. So you're looking at least 4 sentences, which is approximately a paragraph. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check these notes tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow.